welcome to your award-winning The Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week through news and headlines ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I'm Daniel, and this week your other host comes straight from Lazy Gaming Guys. It is Scott. Welcome back, Scott.
Thanks. Always fun to be here.
And it ended up working out really well because we do have some all-new Kingdom of Hearts news. But first, if this is your very first episode, the way we format it is we go through a block of news. That's most of the show. We then head into the Brokept block, which is the more personal side of the show, where Scott and I have been since you last heard us, what we've been doing, reading, watching, whatever it may be. So let's jump right in and explore sector number 504. So there is a new app that's setting out to solve the crisis that people talk about, how there are too many services, there's all kinds of apps, and it names it, quote, the streaming struggle, end quote. So it's called Plex, Plex. It's an app that has been launched. It is beta testing, and it claims to be able to pull together all of your streaming services like Paramount Plus, HBO Max, Hulu, Apple TV Plus, and more back together in one place, so on one app. The selling point of the app is its ability to pull relevant information about your viewing habits, preferences from all the different platforms, and from there, it organizes your watch list into one home screen, and it also recommends you things from all of your connected streaming services based on what you've been watching and what is on your list. So currently, the basic plan for Plex is free. I'm kind of surprised that there hasn't been anything like this already, but this one seems to be trying to solve that problem. I checked it out and it all looks pretty legit. You just connect, put in whatever logins you have for any services. But what do you think about this? It seems like a problem that does very much exist, and I think a lot of people would be, if this takes off, would be pretty happy with something like Plex.
I mean, I see it as, I guess maybe it's just me. I don't have this issue, and I don't really see it as that big of a deal. I mean, Plex is basically giving you cable, where it's just like, all right, here's all your streaming services together in one thing. Yeah, it was cable, and then you have streaming services now. I can see it being useful for someone that I guess has quite a lot of streaming services. If you've only got 2 or 3, I don't really see this as being that useful to you.
The part where I ran into this problem recently. Normally, I'm like, all right, I know what's on what app. HBO Max is going to have this. But I was telling you the other day that I wanted to watch some Adam Sandler stuff. So I had to go into HBO Max, search Adam Sandler. There's 4 movies up currently. And then I had to leave, go to Netflix, and then go to that search, and then search Adam Sandler. So that's one thing that Plex would be helpful on my end, where I can just type in on Plex Adam Sandler, and based on what services I have, it'll show me all the movies. Or if I want to search, I wonder if The Fifth Element is streaming on anything. Yes, I can also Google it, but if I have Plex, I can type in The Fifth Element, and if it's in one of my streaming services, it'll just pull it up right there already. So that's one thing where I think it would be a little useful. I don't know if Funimation or anything is on there, but when I do eventually get Funimation and Paramount Plus, maybe that's the time where I might jump in. And I don't know if it'll be free at that point, and if there's like a limit, like if you log into 4, then you have to start paying a couple dollars a month, or how that all works. But it is in beta. It's still up and coming, but something that is pretty interesting in this world of streaming.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a market for it, and that it'll probably do decently well as long as it has a good enough interface and does its job like very well. I think that people will latch on, and I'm sure they'll start actually being able to charge for things instead of just having it free, which I'm sure is just because of the beta aspect of it.
From what I looked at before it went up in beta, some of the places where it did make money was it would put up movies with ads. So you can watch free movies and just sit through the ads. So they do have ways to make revenue. And that's the one part that, again, I was a little worried about. If this was like a new service, they're like, all right, basic plan is free. But it seems like they do have at least a base platform on how to make some money for them at least. And I think there's another streaming services on Roku and all of that. And have the same thing, like free movies, but with ads. And that's kind of how they make a little bit of money.
Yeah, I do also know that Amazon Prime is very similar in a way to this, because you can do things like Paramount Plus or BritBox or IMDb TV through Amazon Prime. and then it would use all the Prime Video services, like their resources, stuff like that, but have access to that library.
That's what Millennial Mike was doing, right? Or what he wanted to do with Halo.
Yeah, yeah. It's from what I understand the best way currently to watch Paramount Plus, but maybe this one's also a different way to watch Paramount Plus if that's on there as an option. But I don't know if this one uses their resources to watch it or just links you to Paramount Plus's resources.
Right. That'd be another thing to
That's
see.
kind of an interesting thing, whether it's just essentially switching services for you or if it's using their library just in Plex's service.
I may send this over to Millennial Mike and see if maybe he can test it out as far as Paramount Plus and see if there's any improvement on Halo, because that would definitely answer that question of whether it's just mirroring what you already have or, as you said, it has its own servers and its own hosts.
If it does have its own servers and hosts, this could very well be a good option for Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
Even if you just have Paramount Plus, this might be the better option to watch it, since apparently that app does have some major issues still.
Yeah, correct. And we do have another giant that is moving into the streaming service via a merger, as last week, the merger between Discovery and Warner Media closed successfully. And the new company, the new business, it is called Warner Brothers Discovery. On the stock market, it's listed under WBD, so you can buy up stock if you want. And it has been steadily rising since it came out. If you do own any AT&T stock, you will get a quarter share of WBD for every one share you have of AT&T. So just a heads up to anyone that hasn't been watching, that maybe hasn't been watching their portfolio and might have AT&T stock, just you should have those shares by now. But the new company will combine everything under the Warner Media umbrella, including DC, HBO Max, New Line Cinema, Adult Swim, Cartoon Network, with everything that is owned by Discovery, like TLC, HGTV, Discovery Plus, and the Travel Channel. David Zaslav, who is the Warner Brothers Discovery Chief Executive Officer, said, quote, "With our collective assets and diversified business model, Warner Brothers Discovery offers the most differentiated and complete portfolio of content across film, television, and streaming. We are confident that we can bring more choice to consumers around the globe while fostering creativity and creating value for shareholders. I can't wait for both teams to come together to make Warner Brothers Discovery the best place for impactful storytelling," end quote. And as part of the acquisition, AT&T received $40.4 billion in cash and the retention of some debts by Warner Media. So they got to offload some of that onto the new company. It was previously confirmed by Discovery CFO Gunnar Wiedenfels that the company would work towards a proper merger of their streaming efforts quickly. They were specifically hoping for months rather than years as a timeline. So it sounds like by the end of this year, their goal is to have HBO Max and Discovery be one service. They want to move quickly on all of that. Last week, we were in the process of, all right, let's see if they close on Friday or if it's all going to go on Monday. They were able to close on Friday. They are now operating as is, and Discovery shares have gone up as well. So it seems like there's some pretty decent confidence behind this new company.
I know I'm excited, especially, well, I should say I'm cautiously excited because I want to see what the new price point is going to be for HBO Max, because I'm sure it's not going to be still the $15, or I will be surprised if it is.
Right.
Considering you're also now getting Discovery Plus, essentially. But I'm excited because Discovery Plus wasn't one of those things that I wanted. Granted, it's the cheapest streaming service out there at $4.99 a month, but it was something I could easily live without. But now if it's included with my HBO Max, well, sure. Like, there's stuff on Discovery I would love to have watched, just didn't want to pay the $5 for. Boom, now it's included. I'm hoping that maybe it'll just be like a $17 subscription or an $18, where it's not the full just, okay, now it's $20, which is literally just the price of both services.
And I think Netflix is at 21 or 22 right now. I'm trying to remember. When Millennial Mike was on for episode 500, I know Maceo was like, they better not jack up the prices. And we're like, they're going to jack up the prices. They definitely are. Like, the price is going up for sure.
I'm sure that the price is going up. I'm just hoping it's only by maybe $2 or $3 at most, versus if it goes up by $5, that's literally just, you might as well sub to both subscription services anyway, separately.
Exactly, yeah, and that would be a big thing for anyone that just wants Discovery. Like, we haven't heard anything from those subscribers, the people that are only for Discovery Plus, and they're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! I'm paying 5. I'm happy with this."
Yeah, I'm paying 5 and getting the content I want. Now you're telling me I got to pay $20 to get the same content plus things I didn't want? Like, I already wasn't paying the 15 for a reason. I think it's going to be definitely interesting. I'm curious to see, like I said, where the price lands on that. For right now, Netflix is still the most expensive streaming service
Yeah,
available, and
yeah,
I'm
and it
hoping
keeps going up a little.
Max doesn't become that.
And so far, it seems like they are following through. They said they had a plan. They have a presentation in May, I want to say. I'm trying to remember, but and then Sil Abdul Link, who's been on the show before, he has a YouTube channel. He's been calling it the 100-day plan, and basically by counting this Monday 100 days is when we'll know more or less what David Zaslav plans to do with the new company moving forward. One of the things he's trying to undo, because obviously I'm excited for the DC stuff and see what kind of stuff they actually do with it, but there's a lot more at stake, like CNN. There's talks about undoing the CNN app that Jason Kyler put in like over the last year. And David was like, no, that could be part of the thing, part of Discovery, Warner Brothers Discovery streaming or whatever they call it. So there's going to be a lot of undoing and a lot of restructuring that has to happen before David gets it to where I think he needs it to be. He's got to clean up a lot of messes, and hopefully he's the guy to do it. I have confidence in him, and obviously things can easily go south, but I do hope for the best on David and taking this company to in the right direction. On my end, Zack Snyder just yesterday put up on Vero that he was screening the prints for Zack Snyder's Justice League, the actual filming prints, and we're like, okay, he's about to work on a different movie for Netflix called Rebel Moon in 4 days. Why is he suddenly screening the film that's already out on Blu-ray and DVD? So there's speculation that either he screened it for people at Discovery or that they're getting it ready for a theatrical run to release it, at least limited or something. So there's definitely stuff happening. You don't work on a different movie and then post about one that you already finished unless there's stuff coming. So we're going to know more answers in the next couple of weeks. And one of the things that came out of this sort of dust settling in the merger is that Amber Heard almost wasn't picked up for Aquaman 2 by Warner Brothers due to concerns over her chemistry with Jason Momoa. So she was eventually signed on for the sequel and has since filmed her role in the film, but was not able to negotiate a fee increase for the sequel due to the scandal involving Johnny Depp. And so this has brought up a lot of opinions, and I kind of want to get yours too, because I think we're all on Johnny Depp's side on this one.
Yeah, no, I'm completely for Johnny Depp, and I think Amber Heard shouldn't have been even considered for the movie after everything. Considering how quick they were to throw Johnny Depp off of the Fantastic Beasts movie, everything, yet Amber Heard gets nothing. Like, oh, she didn't get a fee increase. That's it. That's the only thing. Like, her name is not ruined or anything else. She didn't lose out on, still the millions of dollars. It's just pretty sad to see that happen.
And that's one of the biggest problems where people are saying, okay, she still gets to star in the sequel to $1 billion film, yet Johnny Depp had to, as you mentioned, immediately cease any income. He did get paid for this last Warner Brothers movie, Fantastic Beasts, because he did film, I think, a scene before they dropped him out of it. So it caused a clause in his contract where he had to get paid fully for his role in it. However, how many roles now did he lose out on? And Amber Heard has since said that she doesn't have any major roles anymore coming up because of the Johnny Depp scandal. And everyone's kind of like, well, at least that's happened now. Even it should have happened a couple years ago, but at least now she's getting what they both may or may not deserve. We don't know. At least I'm not as educated on what exactly Johnny did on his end. I know there's videos of him drunk and belligerent, and I know we've seen the recorded interviews of her basically admitting several times to physically abusing him. So we know that she's definitely gone through some abuse towards Johnny, and that's all still going on. People are asking how that's going to affect her role in Aquaman 3 or in Zack Snyder's Justice League Parts 2 and 3. And it's one of those things where Warner Brothers immediately, doing one thing on one end, doing the wrong thing on the other, not treating their actors the same way. Walter Hamada kind of threw Toby Emmerich under the bus a little bit by saying that he didn't want Amber Heard to be in Aquaman 2, so he's kind of washing his hands of that whole thing. It's just, again, a mess, a real big mess over there.
It's a sticky situation, but I think Amber Heard shouldn't have had any roles because if Johnny was immediately dropped, she should have been immediately dropped.
Did you end up ever seeing the first Aquaman?
No.
There was definitely a lack of chemistry between the two characters. It didn't seem like they were really in love when you're watching them. It seems like they were both just truly I don't know. I just didn't see it either.
They were just in it for the paycheck. Like, yep, I have to pretend I love you.
Well, Jason looked like he was trying, like legitimately trying, but I don't know. I don't know if sometimes you get it from some actors and sometimes you don't. And I did not see it from these two in the first Aquaman. I just didn't believe it. And I don't know if I'm not going to see the sequel, so people can let me know if that improves at all for part 2. Another movie that is coming up is Jurassic World Dominion. Colin Trevorrow, who's the director, was speaking to Empire about the new dinosaur that's running around in this movie called the Giganotosaurus, and he compares it to a DC villain. He says, quote, "I wanted something that felt like the Joker. It just wants to watch the world burn," end quote.
God, that's so weird.
It's so cringy, isn't it?
It's, this Gigantosaurus, because we couldn't come up with a better name than gigantic dinosaur.
True, that is the official name, though, of this dinosaur.
And it's like, oh, it feels like the Joker because this dinosaur that's acting on instinct and everything else just wants to watch the world burn. But that's not how dinosaurs operate. Like an animal typically doesn't want chaos. They're just going about their lives and survival. Like, yeah, I'm hungry. I'm going to eat these people because they're pretty easy prey. They're not sitting there sowing chaos. Like,
coming up with master plans to trick Harvey Dent.
Now just imagine this Gigantosaurus sitting in like an evil lair, pondering the nature of human nature and stuff like that, and morality, and trying to go against. Are we going to find out Blue is Batman now? Is that what's going to be the thing?
The T-Rex we know is its nemesis in this movie. From what I understand, there's like the epilogue that came out on YouTube. It shows the T-Rex dying, getting killed by the Gigantosaurus, and then that the director, I think it was Colin, said that the rivalry expands into the future where they still, when they get resurrected through cloning, they still see each other as mortal enemies. So we're going to get a round 2 of the T-Rex and the Gigantosaurus in Dominion. So I guess so. Yeah, T-Rex is Batman and Blue is Robin.
Yeah, that is really weird. It's such a weird thing to compare Jurassic Park to. I mean, unless he's just trying to tie in with the Justice League Primal or whatever.
Yes, Jurassic League.
Yeah, Jurassic League. Like maybe he's trying to tap into that, and we can have a Jurassic Park and Jurassic League crossover.
It's brilliant. Yeah, maybe that's it. We're just ignorant of it. We just don't know. We're gonna sound like morons when the movie comes out.
It's gonna be great.
Now, here's the thing. Like, I'm making fun of the guy, but like, granted, it could happen. It's theoretically possible that Gigantosaurus convinces Ian Malcolm that the dinosaurs are the good guys and the humans are the bad guys and turns Ian Malcolm into a villain and they all have to fight him. Now that I'd be like, okay, he's like the Joker a little bit. But it seems like he's like these guys on the Facebook groups, the DC fans that are like, he just wants to watch the world burn, and they have like their avatar set to that and they have the little text underneath or their banners. I just want to watch the world burn. It's like, if you watch The Dark Knight, everything is meticulously planned by the Joker. That was one of the lies he told Harvey Dent about chaos. And like, he's telling him, like, I wouldn't know what to do with it if I caught it. And he's lying to Harvey because he does know, because he has all these plans. Harvey fell for that plan that Joker had of turning him into a villain. Like, all of this is, and it's just funny that Colin, I think he just saw the line and he's like, oh, that'll be a cool way to describe this new dinosaur. That'll be a way to make him sound like a badass.
No, because the name won't do it.
Apparently not, or just let the film speak for itself. It's a dinosaur that in the first Jurassic World, did you see that one?
Yeah, I saw the first Jurassic World.
So that villain was the Indominus Rex, and it was a made up dinosaur. They made it just for the film. That one killed for the sport of it. It didn't kill to eat. It didn't kill to assert dominance. It killed for the sport of it. I guess it wanted to prove that it was the strongest dinosaur. And that's when they were like, we've never seen an animal like this. It's not even eating them. It's just killing. And it was like, okay, that's kind of interesting, I guess, because that's very weird of dinosaur or animals to do at all. There's always a purpose behind it, right? So, and then in the sequel, they had the raptor, kind of super raptor that they made. My kid would kill me for not knowing the name because I should know it. We played with the toys this morning. The Indoraptor is what it's called. And that one was a weapon by the military. You point a gun, it goes after whatever you point at it, which is silly or whatever. It wasn't a great movie, but you know. And now with this third one, it seems like, I don't know what kind of, it just wants to cause destruction, I'm assuming is what he's going for. And that's what he's trying to say. But again, that's not like the Joker at all.
No.
The Joker does cause destruction, but he doesn't just cause destruction just for the sake of it.
Yeah, he has plans and things like that. Like, it's not just, oh, well, if I can destroy the world, I will, or else he would just start nuking places. The Joker doesn't just nuke Gotham or
Exactly.
nuke this or nuke that. Like, if he wanted to just sow chaos, he could easily do that through different means.
This is why in the comics, in the movies, in the animated shows, and we're about to see that in Justice League 2 and 3, the Joker and other villains, when the stakes get so bad that the world is ruined, they team up with the heroes because they're like, at the end of the day, this is still our world. Or Joker's case, he's like, this is still my fucking playground, and they're ruining my shit with Batman. These parademons, Darkseid. So they end up teaming up with it. Otherwise, yeah, Joker would be like, yeah, I don't care. I'll help Darkseid, but he never does.
He's more of just, he likes to play the whole cat and mouse game with Batman and stuff like that. He sees Batman as another side of him,
Mm-hmm.
And wants Batman to kind of, like, almost wants to corrupt Batman in a way to, like,
Yes.
prove his point of, you are just me with a slightly different moral compass.
That's literally all he wants. He wants to point out to Batman the ridiculousness of his morality in the world that we live in certain versions of it. And Batman will remain steadfast, and that's what frustrates the Joker so much. Well, Colin has set expectations in my head. I better see the Giganotosaurus with the white makeup and the red
Paint on smile.
green hair.
That's what I'm expecting when I go into this movie.
God, I might Photoshop that for this episode's thumbnail.
Right?
We have another movie here that, in spite of the mixed reviews, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is having the best opening weekend ever for a film based on a video game. This easily topped the $58 million that the first Sonic movie earned when it opened in 2020. And I think you and I have both seen from our circle of friends that it has been pretty well received.
Yeah. Everyone that I know that has gone to see it has enjoyed it. No questions asked. Like, everyone that I know that has seen it has enjoyed it. And that's about 7 or 8 people. So that's pretty good odds. Like, when, 7 or 8 people that all have different tastes, different opinions, all enjoyed the movie. They may have had some minor issues here and there or some other complaints, but overall they're like, no, it was a good movie, and enjoyed it. So the movie obviously is doing something right. I was going to say, I'm excited the fact that they introduced, now we have like Knuckles and Tails and stuff like that, which I feel was part of the thing that was missing from the first movie for me.
Yeah, did you ever end up seeing the first one?
I did not, mostly because, like, with just Sonic and the whole fish out of water story, I just felt like I had already seen this plot line too many times.
And that is the case with that first one. Justin and I, Treasure Hunting Sonic, just recorded a comprehensive episode for all of you where we go in and we discuss Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And that was one of the things he mentioned, that the first film felt so grounded compared to the second one. Not necessarily that there's more humans or anything like that. I think it's the same amount for the most part. But they do raise the bar when it comes to the action scenes with these other characters like Knuckles and Sonic, where you have these amazing action sequences now that the first one had some of, but not quite to this level. So I think it does raise the stakes in a really good way. But once you've seen the first and the second one, there's, in my opinion, no reason to come back and see the first one, because it is very much, like you said, the Smurfs, or the cartoon characters stuck, Tom and Jerry stuck in the real world. And they really play into that a lot in the first film. Whereas in the second one, it's more, okay, humans know these aliens are a part of our lives. They're no longer surprised to see Sonic running around. And this is the world they get to play in now. It's kind of like Sonic Adventure 1, I guess, in a weird way.
That's at least nice. Like I like that aspect. So I'll probably end up watching at some point the second Sonic movie, but I'll probably end up just skipping the first one.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I'd suggest that too. Even Leo, who liked the first one, now he just wants to see the second one because he likes Knuckles, he likes Sonic, and there's Sonic has more control over his powers in a way in the second one a little bit, and you get to see that some more in the sequel. So that's kind of nice. Do you think
Yeah,
that does anything good for video game films?
I hope so. Like, it's always a gray area because anytime we get a halfway decent one, it's typically followed up by really crappy ones that just ruin tastes in video game movies again. So I'm hoping that this will kind of usher in like an age where, yeah, video game movies can be a thing. They're never going to be probably quite as good as the games they're based on, but they're going to be adequate enough that you enjoy it, you have fun, and you like it, which is, I think, where the Sonic game or the Sonic movies are. Like, I think the games are definitely better, but at the same time, you have a movie that you can point to and be like, yeah, these two movies are actually good movies. Go watch them, especially the second one. And hopefully, considering that this one already made, I think, 78 million in its opening weekend, there's going to be a third one that you can go, yep,
Oh yeah,
I'm
for
sure
sure.
that'll be good. And because all you need is the same team, they seem to know what they're doing enough. And I'm hoping that we're getting like the whole Sega connected universe or expanded universe. Because I would love to see a Shenmue movie or Yakuza or Super Monkey Ball. That'd be a fun one.
Yeah, that was one thing that, like, I don't want to disappoint anyone preemptively, but you might as well know now. When they kept talking about, and I think you and I might have talked about this on the episode, they talked about how they wanted a Sega universe of films. And I'm like, all right, we're going to get that in this. At some point, we're going to get a little tease or a post credit scene that maybe they'll portal jump from one world into the next. They end up in Super Monkey Ball world or wherever. None of that in this movie, in the sequel. And I'm like, you have portals. You
Yeah,
have the portals. Use them. Just a little wink and a nod.
teased us with like saying that it was part of it. Like,
Yes.
show us just a quick few seconds, like just something.
Well, with the success of this second Sonic movie, you do know that the way studios work, they're going to say, okay, well, what's the next video game thing we can do that might make us another $78 million or whatever? We got the Super Mario movie that's coming out. I don't think that's Paramount, but that is releasing. If you are Paramount and you legit want to do another Sega franchise, because I'm assuming they would be like, all right, Sega, let's work on another property and let's both make some more money. Would you say the safe bet would be something like Super Monkey Ball as opposed to like an R-rated Yakuza film or something like that?
Yeah, I think it depends on what going off of this one, it would probably be Monkey Ball, but Monkey Ball would most likely be all animated. Because I don't think you could add, human characters to Monkey Ball.
He falls off the stage and ends up in our world. Oh
And
no.
just a monkey in a ball running around our world. A hamster in a cage, essentially. But yeah, if they wanted to go more after a teen audience, you could also probably do Shenmue. Shenmue isn't very super mature, like going straight to Yakuza,
Mhm.
but it could also test the waters and would easily be done with purely live action and without too big of a budget. Especially the first Shenmue, there's not that many locations, there's not that many different sets you would have to build in order to make a decent adaptation of the game just by cutting some of the fat and everything else. And I think that would be kind of a cool one because it's a reasonably popular series without being super popular. So you won't have a ton of fans like harping on the fact of, oh, well, this isn't 100% accurate or this isn't 100% accurate because most people have never seen Shenmue, but they might recognize the name.
Yeah, you just throw up Sega's Shenmue and people
Now,
might flock in.
well, the animated series just started
Mhm.
recently, so you could tie into that, like get some of the people from that and go, oh, see, remember the animated Shenmue on Crunchyroll? Like you can now watch our movie of Shenmue. stuff like that as a live action. And it would also test the waters for a mature thing like Yakuza and whether the success of the Sega universe as far as movies go would be more strictly, all right, stick to the Sonic type of stuff where it's more kid friendly, or no, we can do both. Like,
Mhm.
branch off.
I'd do something wild. Like if I were in charge, I'd get the director to the first Mortal Kombat from the 90s, Paul Anderson, who did the Resident Evil films. I'd say, okay, you did one fighting movie, Mortal Kombat. You want another crack at it. I know you wanted to do it. You didn't like what they did with Annihilation. We've got Virtual Fighter. Do a
Yeah.
Virtual Fighter movie.
And that's one that again, no one actually knows the plot of Virtua Fighter. Like I know there is one, but like maybe three people in the world know the plot of
Yeah,
Virtua Fighter. So he could easily do almost anything he wants with that. And no one's gonna really say, "Oh, you're wrong," or "This adaptation sucked," because no one knows.
exactly right. And I don't think he's doing Monster Hunter 2. I don't know if that was successful enough to have a sequel. I'd have to
Sure,
look that up. But if he's not, call him up, Virtual Fighter. I'd watch it.
that would be definitely an interesting one, or something like what Altered Beast back in
Oh,
the
yes.
Nexus. That would be a really cool one for especially like him or something like that.
Well, now you got me. So who did, what was it, Beast? The one where you transform into a wolf? I know it's not Altered Beast, but the other fighting game, Bloody
Oh,
Roar.
Buddy Roar.
That's not,
I
who's that? That's not Sega, is it?
Sega.
Okay. If it were Sega, I'd be like, fuck Virtual Fighter, do Bloody Roar.
I'll get this real quick because I am curious. Konami.
Konami. All right. Well, I don't think they're making any movies anytime soon.
No, that would have been great though.
Yeah, it would have. Here's something that is from your side of things, since you guys primarily use YouTube. I know you're on Apple Podcasts and everything as well, but I wanted to see what you thought of this because I know you definitely use YouTube more than I do, even as a entertainment thing. During an hour-long interview with Ludwig Agrin, YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki noted that the dislike button was unhelpful for public use and fed into some toxicity. She said, quote, "Dislikes. We heard loud and clear why many people were unhappy with that decision. We also saw the impact it was having on a lot of new creators, and that's bad. We need to support new creators and how they're growing for the long-term health of our ecosystem." End quote. How much bullshit is that, man? I mean,
Oh, it's a
it's for
ton.
the fucking companies. It's because of the trailers.
Yeah, it's because of trailers. It's because of even like YouTube themselves releasing stuff
Yes.
that would have been massively disliked, except, oh, we removed that button. Like, it's not for the small creators or anything like that. They can spin it all they want. I think a lot of people see through their bullshit, especially since YouTube in general doesn't have a lot of goodwill with just the general audience.
Mm-mm.
Like, it's one of those things that, yeah, they have to spin it for corporate things, but everyone knows the truth, and you can still see the dislike button on certain through certain means. I don't know exactly how. You can still see the dislikes,
Oh,
and
that's cool.
they're still there. And guess what? It's all the big companies that have a lot of dislikes. I mean, I'm sure there's random cases where some small creator ends up, with a lot of dislikes because of something, and that does hurt them. But I guarantee that's fringe cases.
Hmm.
The main reason was because of things like movie trailers or video game announcements and stuff like that that didn't do well, or just, big creators in general are the reason why they decided to remove the dislike button.
Yeah, they don't give a shit if smaller creators like me get massively downvoted. They are not going to care. They don't care about even the slightest copyright infringement things that are legitimately wrong and were not rightly flagged, and they still won't fix that shit. So it's like this is absolute bullshit. It is. We've seen it with the GTA trailer where it was massively disliked to the point where Rockstar had to come out and say, "We're working on the new GTA. Please stop disliking our new trailer."
Yeah.
The Snyder fans did it with the Justice League 4K commercial that they put up on YouTube. We massively dislike that. And it's just been happening pretty frequently to the point where companies, yes, are turning around and saying, "Hey, YouTube, what the fuck? Get rid of that.
Yeah.
It looks terrible."
Yeah. Big companies are the only people that can move YouTube to do anything. And that's evidenced through, to your point, things like the copyright claim issues, DMCA issues, video takedown issues. all of these things that small creators especially have been clamoring for YouTube to fix, and nothing. But this thing that small creators didn't care about, YouTube's like, no, no, we did this to protect you. Like, it's like, how about you address our actual concerns and issues instead of the ones you decide to make up for us?
This is what you're worried about.
Yeah,
We're telling you.
yes, we know what you're worried about better than you know what you're worried about.
Well, a better ecosystem right now in the world is the world of physical media as far as manga and graphic novels. Manga has seen a major uptick in sales over the years, with sales actually outpacing demand, causing a shortage. But the fact hasn't halted the medium from pushing a large number of units and breaking some big records in the process. So they are producing more, but they're still running out. In 2021, a total of over 30 million physical graphic novels and manga volumes were sold in North America, with 2020 sales cracking 18 million. This is a massive uptick. So again, they are printing more, everyone. It's just still not enough. That's the crazy thing. This is about a 60% growth, totaling close to $450 million in sales overall for bookstores. This is all according to the NPD Group, which is a research company that bookstores report purchases to. They're also able to pull what you order from these publishers or from the distributors, and that's how they're able to get numbers too. We used to get those reports at the comic shop. Dogman sold millions of copies, shooting it to the top of the list. And then Attack of the Titans, the first volume, sat at the top of the manga list at number 13 overall, followed by the premiere volumes of My Hero Academia, Demon Slayer, and Chainsaw Man, to name a few. And as anime continues to grow via streaming services like Netflix revealing that half of its subscribers have tuned in to an anime at least once, it will be interesting to see if 2022 will continue to capitalize and if it will continue to have another record year for manga and graphic novels.
It's exciting that mangas are doing this well. Unfortunately, though, it also means that prices of manga in secondary markets have been going up dramatically, and you
Yeah.
can't. It's harder to find the cheap mangas because now all of the scalpers are in place. All of the speculators have come over from like the comic book side of things, and it just makes that kind of a shit show. Whereas before, yeah, I could go on eBay and stuff and find cheaper manga or even a used bookstore, but now they've been picked through a lot of times, and suddenly a manga that was on a secondary market $10-12 is now $40 to $50 because it's out of print. That's the downside to it becoming this big juggernaut that it is becoming. But the upside is that we're getting a lot more series published that never would have probably had a chance back in the day, just because there's sales now for them.
Hmm.
There's a bigger fan base clamoring for different series, so they're willing to give more of a shot to random stuff and see what sticks.
And that goes to bookstores too that are doing their ordering, because I remember when I was towards the later end of my career at the comic shop, manga was so in demand even then that I would order volume ones of anything in the previous catalog, even an untested series that I would think, okay, well, this will probably sell just because it's a volume one and people will give it a shot. And sure enough, I upped it to 2 copies of any volume one that I ordered. The owner at that point, he was like, why don't you order this Chainsaw Man? That looks kind of interesting. And I'm like, all right, and ordered that. And we weren't able to get it back in again. And it's just, you're right. It's giving these new series life, because now these comic shops or bookstores will say, just order. Some bookstores that are able to would be willing to say, just order every volume one that comes out. Just order it all because we're going to sell it. Something like Barnes and Noble that has the space for it. They carry a bunch of manga from different distributors that smaller bookstores probably don't have the space to carry. But it is, like you said, giving that chance to some of these smaller publishers and these up and coming stories that is probably affecting the popularity and is causing this ripple effect of maybe even anime getting adapted of these things that we otherwise would never have seen.
See, and that's the weird part is it depends on it because Japan likes to ignore the fact that the West is the biggest consumer of manga
Mm.
there is. So they still kind of ignore us a lot.
So we can all like make an anime series, the biggest thing ever in this country, and it might not get an adaptation, is what you're saying?
There's the potential for that. I mean, it's really strange in that aspect because of the fact that they don't want to admit it, that the
Hmm.
West is the biggest consumer, and we pay more for our manga too than in Japan. In Japan, a manga volume's about $5. Here, it's $10 is the minimum, and a lot of them going up to 11 and $12.
Hmm.
So we pay more, and yet we also still buy like double the amount, which is just a crazy thing. And I get why our mangas are more expensive if anyone's curious. It's because of the translating costs, obviously. You have to pay people to translate it versus in Japan, it's releasing in their native language. They're just printing out what was in the manga or
Right.
like in the jump. So it's not as costly or costly. Jesus, I can't talk.
The
But
one I
yeah,
was curious about here is Attack of the Titans. I remember I couldn't sell that shit at all. And then all of a sudden there's this peak in popularity. Where the hell did that come from? I thought all of that was dead.
from what I can tell, a lot of times when the manga sells, it's because for Attack on Titan specifically, it's because a new season of the anime dropped.
So that show's
So
still going.
yeah, the show is still going. It's in final season part 2 just ended. Final season part 3 was announced next year.
All right. It's turning into
So
Kingdom of Hearts 2.5,
yeah,
2.8.
the manga's been over for 2 or 3 years at this point. Hopefully, well, they in Japan the final season part 3 isn't called part 3, it's just called conclusion. So we're hoping that that's the end. I don't personally watch Attack on Titan, but I know Mike does. From what I can tell, anytime the anime gets popular or it comes out with a new season, everyone starts buying the manga again. And it's really weird because the anime seems to be more popular than the manga for Attack on Titan easily.
that's
And it drives the manga sales.
that's the wild thing. Like I had so many of them, and because it was huge. It was huge 6 years ago or so, where that was probably one of the leading manga series, and then it just stopped. And I remember I had a backlog at the shop of just stuff, and eventually it slowly all sold. And then I didn't reorder. I'm like, oh, thank God. But now
Yeah.
it seems like it's back at the top.
Yeah, and it just depends on when that new season comes out because it suddenly gets everyone starts talking about it, and then all these people are like, "Oh, I should probably get into that series." So they'll buy, especially like a volume 1 or something like that, which is probably why volume 1 was the number one seller.
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, I'll buy volume 1 of the manga," and then they will most likely never buy the rest of it. They'll just buy that one volume
Mhm.
because they're living off the hype from other people on the anime.
Yeah, that's very true. This final bit of news was absolutely unexpected, although I was able to hear some of what you guys were streaming. It was a little a little tough with Jacques not turning down the
Yeah.
background music. I was like, "Oh, I need to hear," but now I can ask you all the questions I want.
Yep.
During an event for the 20th anniversary for Kingdom of Hearts, Square Enix officially announced Kingdom of Hearts 4. Square Enix has not confirmed a release window or platforms, but it's likely the game will come to Xbox Series X and S and PlayStation 5, just like the previous game. Now, I caught a little bit of what you were saying. They were kind of forced into announcing this game, is what you were saying?
What we can tell from an interview with Nomura, they asked him if they could get more information about this or when more information would be kind of revealed about Kingdom Hearts 4. And he mentioned that well after the time E3 would have happened is when we'll have any more information on this, and that they released what the only reason they released what they had now was to prevent it from being leaked. So it seems like they had information that was about to be leaked and decided to go ahead and just publish it themselves during the 20th anniversary instead of having it leaked later on.
So, what do you think is the benefit from preventing it from leaking as opposed to you being the one to announce it officially? What do you think there is to gain on their end?
I mean, there's a lot of the hype that's going to happen more from being officially released, especially during the 20th anniversary stream. Like, that was a good time to kind of bring it up where it's like, oh, we're celebrating the 20th anniversary. Oh, by the way, here's the next game. and the next two games technically.
Mhm.
So I think that's part of it. I think they're going to get a lot more of the ad revenue from videos and such that would pop up instead of leaks. Plus, you can also control the narrative a little bit more
True.
by doing it instead of, oh, well, here's this leak. What's it alluding to? What's this? Instead of, yeah, here it is. Let me do an interview talking about some of the different things. You can release it on your own terms. And I feel like that just makes for a stronger release in general of the information instead of, oh, well, it was somewhat leaked. And now, yeah, here it is. Here's the trailer. Like, we might as well just show it to you at this point without any fanfare versus making it a big deal.
So you and Julian, as huge fans of this franchise, were you honestly expecting a part 4 this soon?
I was not, no. I was expecting, to Julian's point that he mentioned before, that there'd be at least 1 to 2 side games, stuff like that, before we actually got a real main entry. So it is nice to see that it looks like we're going to get one game that's in between and then Kingdom Hearts 4. So
So
that's pretty cool.
let's briefly touch on this side game before I have more questions on part 4. So to
Sure.
go alongside with this part 4, Square Enix also unveiled Kingdom of Hearts Missing Link, which is set to come to both iOS and Android devices in the future. Characters like Sora, Donald, or Goofy were not shown in the initial footage for Missing Link, but instead we were introduced to some new characters who will be making their debut in this game. I did see the gameplay trailer to this, and it does look like basically part 3 in many ways, like the same engine, same combat style, but on your phone.
So it actually looks very weird because it looks more like an evolution of the Kingdom Hearts Union Cross fighting
Hmm.
system. Because if you watch when they're doing special moves and stuff, there's a little trophy that goes around them,
And that's a
and that
part of the
trophy
Union Cross.
Union Cross we had medals to do special attacks.
Gotcha.
Looks like these would just be trophies because one of them's like a Mickey trophy that's going around, or a Donald trophy going around, or characters like Aqua, Terra, and then you're doing an attack that kind of that character would normally do as your special. So I'm thinking that that's how it's going to be implementing the fighting system a little bit more, is that you can do basic combos just like you could in Union Cross, or you can do special moves with them using these little medals. And that's going to be the gotcha portion of it where,
Hmm.
oh, well, you can get the trophies, all these different trophies to get special attacks or to increase stats or things like that. Plus, they look cool because they have different characters on them doing different poses and stuff. So that'll be the way they get money from you.
Right. Yeah, you could either
Oh,
wait an X amount of time and get another gem or trophy, whatever, or you can spend money to get there faster. I'm assuming is kind of what they're going to go with.
yeah, just like any gotcha game.
Yeah.
It's going to be that same free to play model, I guarantee. And that's based on Union Cross and Dark Road, which are the two current mobile games. Although Union Cross is over, it is complete. Dark Road is still going on for, I think it's till the end of this year before it finishes up. But both of those use the same type of model that any other gotcha game uses. So that's why I'm basing this information on that one, that it makes sense that the third mobile game would also be a similar style.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Now, I do have a couple things here about the mainline game. I caught a little bit of, I think, what Julian was saying about the use of Disney characters maybe being an issue for part 4. Is that why maybe you only see Donald and Goofy as far as the trailer? Do you think that there's still some contract negotiations or whatever happening as far as which worlds are going to make it to part
I
4?
I am not sure. I don't even know where Julian got that information, to be honest with you.
Do you remember what he was talking
That
about?
information because he was mentioning that it was tough to get some of the worlds approved and things like that. I remember that the only world I remember them saying that they had issues getting approved was the Toy Story one. They had to send, I think it was 4 or 5 different versions of
Hmm.
the plot to eventually get it approved. But I didn't hear issues with a lot of the. But Julian apparently mentions that they did. I don't know what his source is on it. It might be a very credible source. It might not be.
Himself,
So
he's the king
yeah,
of Kingdom of Hearts.
so we'll definitely. See, I think that there's still going to be probably just the same amount of Kingdom Hearts or Disney Worlds as there is. I mean, this the franchise is still half owned by Disney,
Right.
so they're not going to just remove all of it. It'll be interesting to see what worlds and things of that nature. People are predicting Star Wars getting incorporated into Kingdom Hearts, and then other people are bitching about how would that even work. There's multiple planets. How are they? How would you get to the different ones? It's like,
Uh,
well, they probably just have it on one. Just, oh, here's Tatooine or
yes.
whatever.
Yeah, that's
Like
all it would be.
like they're not gonna sit there and be like, oh yeah, we're gonna span the entire, trilogy or like 9 movies. Like, no, just like Pirates of the Caribbean. It was like, yeah, the second movie is, or the first game I think was Black Pearl, or yeah, Kingdom Hearts 2 was Black Pearl. That was it. It was just Curse of the Black Pearl. And then Kingdom Hearts 3, it was just at World's End. That's all it was. It's like, oh, well, Port Royal is still there. Yeah, I guess. Port Royal is still somewhere on this world map, but you don't need to go there. So, because we're just in the third movie.
Now, I'm on the same boat as you where I don't see them not putting in Disney worlds or whatever it may be, because, like you said, there's ownership issues here. But let's say, as a fan, if they were to, in some weird reality, this were to happen, do you think Kingdom of Hearts has enough of its own standalone characters and worlds where they could legitimately do, let's say, a spin-off game or a Kingdom Hearts 5 without, let's say Kingdom Hearts 4 ends up not having as many Disney worlds as you would think, but kind of like a Smash Brothers, what they did there, where they removed the Disney references for the most part and had strictly Kingdom of Hearts worlds. Do you think that the fan base would still come out in support for something like that, or do you think that the Disney aspect is still that much incorporated into the franchise?
I personally think it's still pretty incorporated into the franchise because part of the fun is that you're going to these like Disney worlds and stuff like that, and just seeing the random crap of like, yeah, we're going to Winnie the Pooh, and there's Heartless that are causing trouble. It's like, how the hell are you incorporating these things? Like the mishmash of concepts here is just so strangely weird and funny that it works. Watching Woody tell you like, "No, I've got this," says he's about to fight like an organization member. It's like, that it what? Like, are you? This is so weird, but it works because it's stupid. Like that's part of the fun. Like Kingdom Hearts has a lot of lore on its own,
Mhm.
but I don't think it has enough to stand up completely because I think part of what people love is the fact that these characters all exist at the same time in like same time and place. Like you have characters like, Sephiroth, but at the same time you have characters like Big Hero 6 and they're all existing in the same world. And it's that contrast and that just weird thing that works about Kingdom Hearts, in my opinion. And I think it's what a lot of people love. I could be entirely wrong, but I think that's what drives a lot of people in because the plot's convoluted and very easily lost on a
Mhm.
lot of people because of how complex and convoluted it is and how many like random side games you have to play to fully understand it. So I think a lot of people just take it at face value, which is, yeah, go to these Disney worlds. You're playing through mostly the same plot, just with Heartless thrown in and minor changes. And like that's what a lot of people just take away from it because that's the easiestly digestible part of it. You take that away and you have a very complex story that I don't think can hold up on its own.
Last thing I'll ask you about the future of this franchise is I know part 3 wasn't as well received as part 2 or maybe some of the side games. What would you personally want to see improved or expanded on in part 4 that maybe part 3 didn't quite hold up to its standards?
It's a weird question for me because I actually didn't have any issues with Kingdom Hearts 3. I guess the only thing I can say is that it did get a little exposition heavy, I guess, at times. So
Mhm.
it'd be nice to have that more incorporated throughout the games like Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 did. But unfortunately, that's also part of the fact of the games are just getting more and more complex and convoluted as the more it keeps it going. So I don't think that's something that they could actually do without completely resetting everything. I know Jacques complained about the combat during stream, but I didn't really have an issue. It was different than Kingdom Hearts 1, it was different than Kingdom Hearts 2. All three games have had different combat styles, and
Yeah.
they all have their ups and downs, and I think that like it's fine. It's just yeah, this is what this game plays like. Adapt to it and have some fun with it.
Maybe when I have Julian on, he might have another opinion on it. I know I'm maybe halfway through the game, and I guess the only thing that I could personally sort of have a nitpick on would, I don't know, if maybe some of the backtracking, and maybe it's answered in post game, but I know like Leo wanted to go back to Monsters Inc. World. I'm like, okay, let's go revisit that. And we did. And there wasn't really anything to do. Like it was just like, okay,
Yeah,
we're here.
there's collectibles, stuff like that. You can get like the hidden Mickey emblems. Like yeah, there's not a ton other than like grinding for materials, for synthesis, cooking, or the hidden Mickeys.
Right. And that was one thing that I thought would have been kind of cool, of like a little subplot of thanks for helping us get rid of the Heartless, and now we have this other little plot issue or something. I don't know, something like that would have been kind of neat, like you see in the Mass Effect games or whatever.
I would definitely say that like that would be kind of a neat feature, that there's kind of like a B plot or
Yeah.
something like that. That yeah, you go back and yeah, thanks, the Heartless are mostly gone, but can you help us out with this now that popped up? Or
Yes.
and you can even have like little, not quite super bosses, but
Mhm.
side bosses.
Yeah, and I think that'd be neat.
One thing I will say that I wanted to mention about Missing Link as well was with the new faces making their debut. Some of those characters are actually from Union Cross.
Okay.
Like we were or watching the trailer, we were shown Brain. Brain was a vital member of Union Cross and was one of the God. In order to get really deep into it, or not too deep, the original creators of Keyblades, essentially, like the original masters, decided to hand down titles of leaders to a new group, and Brain was one of those people. So he's
Okay.
been around since around the founding of Kingdom, like of Keyblades and the Keyblade Wars. So he actually lived through the Keyblade War that we hear tales of in Kingdom Hearts. One character we were also introduced to in Kingdom Hearts 4's reveal trailer that I didn't realize at first it was her was Strelitzia,
Yeah, I
which
did see that character, right.
is a very important character in Union Cross and has consequences for Kingdom Hearts 4 that I'm curious about,
Mhm.
because she ends up getting killed in Kingdom Hearts Union Cross.
Oh, okay.
And we find out that that is actually Marluxia's sister. And like that is the whole reason he kind of becomes the way he becomes. And like his whole motivation is because she died, and he tries to find the killer and things of that nature. But it is interesting that she's here now in this world, considering she was dead. Like,
Yeah,
so
well, they'll
is
be
like, is this the afterlife? Is this where Kingdom Hearts characters go when they die? Like,
convoluted, like you said.
well, someone was like, yeah, if you look back at like Kingdom Hearts 1, he was like, I've been having these weird dreams lately. Like, is any of this for real or not? And he's like, bitch, he was telling you that none of this is real. Like that this is all a dream, and that when he wakes up, that's reality. I could see it with Nomura. Like,
Oh, yeah.
you know, yep, that was all a dream or an artificial world, and now you're like the Matrix, you're in the real world now.
You're
They
your
also
true self, yeah.
we're not going to call this game Kingdom Hearts 4. It was going to be Verum Rex.
What's the name of this new one?
Yeah, that was going to be the name of Kingdom Hearts 4.
How come?
So the world he's actually in is from Verum Rex, which was a game in the Kingdom Hearts universe in Kingdom Hearts 3 in the Toy Story area,
Yes.
with a character that looked like Sora, with
Yeah.
Sora. And that's the world he's in now, so they were going to call this new game Verum Rex. And that was in an interview with Nomura, and Nomura's like, yeah, then there was concerns that people wouldn't connect this to Sora and Kingdom Hearts necessarily, so we decided to just go ahead and call it Kingdom Hearts 4.
That's
Like,
kind of funny because maybe that lends to that theory that you were saying of, I expected some side games. And it's like, are we technically playing a side game when 4 comes out?
so I don't know. Like, it's really weird because it might have just been a meta thing that like, oh well, Kingdom Hearts fans will know what this is, and it's a strange concept that they were going to call this just Verum Rex, when it definitely does continue the plot of Kingdom Hearts from
Mhm.
straight Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen
And
the ending.
yeah, then Missing Link will, according to Nomura, answer almost every loose plot thread that was leading into Kingdom Hearts, or by the end of Kingdom Hearts 3. So like every question you wanted answered is all there. It's all in Missing Link.
Got it.
Have to play like the side mobile game to understand everything, which is not new for
No.
Kingdom Hearts.
No, of course not. It's a given for sure.
Which is why if you all do want to check out the other mobile games, Union Cross is available still for download, and it's just a theater mode essentially at this point. All you do is watch all the cutscenes so you can at least understand all of the plot. They have kept that up as a permanent thing to just be able to go in and watch everything so that you can get the gist of any of the issues or the plot going into future games. And Dark Road currently is still available for play, but it will be doing the same thing, I believe, by the end of this year, where it's just going to be a theater mode so that you can watch all the cutscenes and then you can delete it or whatever else afterwards in order to just fully get the story.
Well, there you go. We do expect more news from these two new games in the Kingdom of Hearts franchise later on this year. And I don't know if we'll get a date later this year, but as Scott said, that shortly after what would have been E3, we'll probably get more information, as he was saying. So hang on tight. It's only a few months away. And honestly, it's kind of neat. I don't think we're going to get as big a wait between 3 and 4 as we did with 2 and 3 and with part 4. So whatever ended up halting as much between 2 and 3, I don't think we're getting with 3 and 4. It's coming sooner rather than later.
Yeah, the big reason for the delay was they changed engines halfway through.
Yeah, that'll do it for sure.
Yeah.
But there you go, everyone. That is our block of news. A lot of stuff this week. Let's head into the Broket block, which is what Scott and I have been doing since you last heard us. So, Scott, you have this story about how you almost became the Flash. You almost had powers.
Yeah. For any of our viewers, like lightning struck my house. That was not a fun experience. Blew a hole in part of my roof. It apparently slipped between shingles and went into the house, according to the firefighters. And yeah, it started a small fire in the attic and blew out the air conditioning, which is still not up at the time of recording.
He's burning
And it
up
also,
right now.
yeah, it blew out the internet. It blew out the cable. It blew out my switch dock. It blew out some external hard drive, or one or two external hard drives, like just all kinds of stuff. A TV, my HDMI port on my TV, like all kinds of fun stuff. It was not a fun experience to just have that happen. Calling the fire department was not a fun time. Although, man, props to them. They arrived super quick and they arrived in force.
Like 18 fire trucks.
It was 5.
That's still a lot.
Once they found, like, realized that it wasn't as bad, it went down to 2.
The other
So,
3 were just bored.
yeah, because thankfully, I mean, they were there in case it was like actually coming out the roof and stuff like that. Because also our homes are very close together in our
Oh,
neighborhood,
yeah.
so it can easily jump from one home to the other. So they definitely needed quite a few in order to kind of keep it contained if that was the case. But thankfully it wasn't. But yeah, like props to them on that for getting here quickly and containing it, like with just fire extinguishers.
When you told me this last week, I'm like, I know it sucks what you're going through now as far as the air conditioner and a lot of the property that you have to replace now and the stuff that was damaged. But I am glad that all of you are okay. That no one was legitimately struck. Although you would have become the Flash, but still. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it literally came through the roof feet away from where I was sitting. Like,
yeah, you showed me the picture. There's a little burned hole on the ceiling of his house. And I'm like, oh shit, it's like right in his living space.
yeah, like I was literally like, I walked out after hearing the sound of the lightning and I'm like, I smell smoke. That's not normal. And then you see like drywall on the ground and you're going, that's really not normal. And then you look up, see a hole in the roof. You're like, oh crap. the house is on fire. Lightning just struck the house. Like your brain just suddenly processes all this information and just like, oh crap, I need to call 911. Like,
Now, I got to ask you, if you had gotten struck by lightning and you got the powers of the Flash, what would you do with those powers? What would be the first thing you would do?
oh man, I'd be going on vacations. Like, are you kidding me?
What do you mean?
Any country I want.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So you'd travel the world really quickly.
Yeah. Like, all right, well, I can go eat lunch in like, France and then have some dessert over in like Mexico or Canada or Japan. Like, like shopping. I can go, oh man, I'm in the mood for like some good Chinese food. All right, well, I'll go to China.
You're just describing Epcot. You can do it now.
With flash powers, I can go to authentic places.
True.
Like fully, like the little mom and pop place. That'd be the coolest thing ever. Like that's what I would do. I would, screw saving, like stopping crime or whatever. Like no, no, I got places to be.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I never would have thought of that one. Going to different parts of the world, traveling instantly. You can go anywhere instantly. It's like almost like teleportation in a way that you're that fast as the Flash.
I mean, again, like you might as well, if you're hungry, just go to another country to eat because it'd be just as quick to go down to your kitchen. Like just boom. All right, now there. Like get me some like bratwurst and sauerkraut from Germany. Like boom, I'm in. I'm there.
That's a good answer, man. Good answer. What else has been happening in your week otherwise since you were, or in the last month since you were last on?
So, been doing some stuff for the Ronin Council. That's another fun podcast you all should be listening to if you like anime and manga.
And if you like Millennial Mike, because he's one of the hosts.
Yeah, he is, and it's great. Like he does a lot of work for that show, and props to him for that. But yeah, I've been watching a bunch of anime because of that. And currently, like after we get done here and stuff, I've got to watch some of the stuff for our review for the new season. We are doing our first episode for the new season of anime that just started. So that'll be a fun one. I think our first part of our massive two-parter for the end of last season of anime just came out at time of recording.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it came on my list yesterday, I think.
So that'll be cool. I'm curious to see how he was able to edit that one down. A little teaser that was an 8-hour recording.
Imagine that, Brocat Core. 8-hour recording. I can't imagine. Did you guys break for lunch or anything?
It was recorded in 2 parts.
Oh, okay. So not in one sitting.
So,
I got you.
And we just kept going and going and going and going. So we just kind of forgot to limit time, but it was fun.
Yeah.
Like, just a lot to mention.
Yeah, I'm curious now when I listen to those, how maybe he's releasing it in 2 parts, you said he's going to do?
From what he had told me before, he was going to release it into 2 parts.
All right. Well, I guess we'll see.
So I know part 1 is out. It's definitely a beast of an episode, but highly recommend checking it out if you like anime and manga. I have been playing Ghostwire Tokyo on PS5. That's been a lot of fun, along with Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga.
How has that been going for you? Because I know we were talking about how it's different than a traditional Lego game.
So, I guess apparently the differences start getting less as you go on. Like when you start getting to like episode 4 and the end of episode 3, they start feeling more like actual Lego levels. But episode 1 and 2 are really bad about being like, nope, actual levels are strictly vehicles or boss battles. And that's it. So as I played more, it started getting to some more actual levels. There's still a lot of just vehicle levels and things like that, but we started to get some more actual levels, which was good. Plus, the game's still weirdly addictive because I like to collect everything, so I'm still going for Platinum Trophy in the game, stuff like that. And it's still decently fun if you're a Star Wars fan, but I would still recommend Lego Star Wars, the Complete Edition, for either PS3 or 360 as like the definitive Lego Star Wars game.
Gotcha.
And I know that is available on 360 or Xbox One digitally for 360. So if you can find it on sale, it can go really cheap.
Yeah, and the Lego games tend to go down in price pretty quickly.
$4. So
yeah, that's good, man.
One nice thing about the Lego games, if you can wait for them, like you can get them for pennies, and they're still fun games as long as it very much depends on how much you like the property or the IP.
Absolutely, yeah, because
Actually, get from a Lego game.
Leo and I have been playing Lego Batman 3, and that one has a hell of a lot more puzzles than Lego Jurassic World.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, fuck, man. Like, Jurassic Park was more destroy all the blocks and then build the thing that comes out of those blocks, and then you can move on with the next level. And now you can be a dinosaur. Cool, fun. But with Lego Batman, it's like, okay, now you got to put on the right suit to solve this puzzle. Okay, change into that suit. So it's a lot more. I would say it's for an older kid audience type of thing, just because of the complexity of the puzzles. Because I'm the one that has to kind of tell Leo, okay, we need this one, we need that suit, and then he can do it. But as far as like figuring out what to do, he's only 4. He still hasn't figured that part out yet. And even me, I have to look. I have to have the guide open in my phone because there's some scenes where I'm like, fuck, I've destroyed everything in this room. There's nothing else to do. What do I need to do? And then I look it up, and it's, you got to put on these goggles and look over here. Okay, whatever. I just want to fight Darkseid.
That was really fun to play in free play mode though, because Superman just breaks everything.
He's invincible too, isn't he?
He's invincible. He can fly through every puzzle. So you're just like, yep, okay, just go around the puzzle.
I can't wait to get to that point because we unlocked free play in Jurassic Park. He was like, okay, now I want to play Batman. He immediately wanted to move on to that. So hopefully there's some cool, more free play in Lego Batman 3 that's a lot more fun, because it seemed like Lego Jurassic Park was mainly, okay, now you can collect all the lost gold blocks or whatever and unlock these characters if you want. And maybe we just didn't do enough free play, but it sounds like Lego Batman 3 is going to at least be a lot more fun with all the different lanterns you can unlock, playing as the Flash, Wonder Woman. That's all a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's a ton of really good characters. That was a really fun platinum trophy.
I haven't rescued a single Adam West though. I haven't figured it out.
I had to look up guides for like all of that extra stuff for the most part, because it was like, oh, that's what I was supposed to do? Oh, okay. Like, I would not have guessed that one, but sure.
This came up on as part of the Brocat block. I wanted to save it for this because I posted it on the Facebook group for DC, and it was just a picture of basically a Mego doll of Sinestro. And the packaging itself says DC Superheroes, and then it shows Sinestro on there as one of the figurines that you can collect, one of the Mego dolls. And I posted it, and one guy was like, technically Sinestro is not a superhero, I'm just saying. And I'm like, the logical answer is you got to have bad guys for the superheroes to fight. That's just the fucking branding, right? Like, they're not literally just printing superheroes. But then I was like, you know what? It depends on how you look at Sinestro, because from even our perspective, in the Sinestro Corps War, he caused all of this huge war to happen, and many people died, but it overall made the Lanterns better and stronger, and that was his whole goal. He united the Lantern Corps. He unlocked the ability on the rings to kill, which to him, he was like, this is the only way to police the universe. If you have lethal force, you cannot police a universe without being able to kill. You're going to die because these people are out to kill you. And that was one of the things, even though he lost the war, quote unquote, he was like, no, Hal, I did this for the Corps. Even though I'm a Yellow Lantern, I'm still at heart a Green Lantern. So I won. And I'm like, he's not wrong there. Like, that is good.
Yeah, I mean, his methods are flawed, but he gets the results of essentially trying to make the Green Lanterns better, not necessarily trying to destroy the world or anything like that. It's more of he wants a positive result. Just like, the way he has to do it is by becoming evil.
Yeah, by causing this catalyst of pushing the Guardians enough to where they had to, because they were getting killed by the Sinestro Corps. All these Lanterns were getting murdered, and that's when the Guardians were like, okay, we have to unlock that code and the rings to allow lethal force to be used, and they do. And that's how they're able to push back the Sinestro Corps back to defeat, essentially. And then the other thing, I'm like, and also technically in that final volume of the Green Lantern run by Jeff Johns, he is the keeper of the Book of Oa. Old man Sinestro is a Green Lantern at the end of his life, and he is a keeper of the book, and he trains the younger Green Lanterns, the newer Lanterns, and teaches them about their history. It basically, the way Jeff ended the story is all of these comics that he's been writing over the last 9 years were told from the perspective of Sinestro. So he was telling us this story this whole time, and he tells it in a way to he tells the reader, us, all the terrible things he did as well, all the good things he did, and he burned the pages of Sinestro in the Book of Oa because he did not want to be remembered as a hero in the Book of Oa. And he goes anonymous basically as the keeper in the Book of Oa. He refers to himself in the third person because he does not want to be recognized in the Green Lantern world. In I don't know where they would be at that point in the future, but he ends up being a Green Lantern and he ends up being a good guy at the end. So and I told all of this to this guy on Facebook, not to like prove him wrong, but I'm like, well, he is a superhero.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could also consider him more like an anti-hero or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Red Hood, where it's like, yeah, his whole method is, I'm just gonna shoot and kill a lot of these people and stuff like that because Batman's too weak. But at the same time, they consider him a hero. Like the DC fans will go, yeah, no, he's a Robin and stuff like that. He's a hero. It's like, well, he also has very different ideas of what being a hero is.
Right.
Same with Sinestro. Like his idea of being a hero was becoming enough of a threat and a villain to cause them to become stronger, because that was the only way he could see them becoming stronger.
Yeah, the Guardians were not changing otherwise. That's something he always butted heads with on the Guardians. Like, we need to do this, we need to do that to make this. And they were all one mind, basically. You're like, no, we don't operate on emotion and all that stuff. And Hal Jordan constantly agreed with Sinestro, like, fuck these Guardians. That's why they worked so well together in their early years. And then later on, towards the end of the run, it's one of those things that Sinestro, like, he likes Hal, and even Hal in the early issues, he's like, you would think that we hated each other from the start, but we didn't.
Yeah.
He's like, we're both kind of loose cannons in a way. And he even leaves two of the Guardians alive. He lies in the Book of Oa and he says, yeah, Sinestro killed all the Guardians. He murdered them all because of their intent. But he secretly left the two that allowed emotion to corrupt them, so to say. That's what the other Guardians thought, that as soon as you became fearful or whatever, you were no longer a Guardian because you now were compromised, essentially, kind of like the Vulcans, I guess. And so the ones that invented the Blue Lantern Corps of Hope, he did not kill them. He allowed them to live, and they escaped. But it's something that he didn't let anyone know this because they needed to be protected, essentially. He knew that they weren't evil like the other Guardians. So there's heroic things to him. And that's kind of the little debate I wanted to bring in, or the question I wanted to bring in of, is Sinestro a hero? And I think, for me, the answer is yes. And I'd be curious to hear what other Brokettes think, because he is different than, say, a Joker or a Solomon Grundy or something, which are very clearly evil in many ways. And I just can't describe Sinestro as fully evil. And I can't agree with that.
I would agree with you on that one. Like, because even when he is evil, he's doing it for actual heroic things.
Exactly.
And it's like, oh, well, in Endgame, where it's like, oh, Thanos is doing this for noble reasons. It's like, no, he's doing it for stupid reasons.
Yeah.
When Sinestro is doing it actually for a noble reason of making them stronger to be better at their job and protecting people. And it was the only way he could think of, and potentially the only way, period, that it could have happened.
Yeah, and out of that whole thing, a bunch of lanterns came out, new lanterns that they had to, I think they doubled their rings. They had 2 protectors per sector because they were like, we need more bodies, we need more soldiers.
Yeah.
So that's how they were able to get a lot more. Some of these newer lanterns, like Jessica Cruz, Simon Baz, all of them, we have them because of Sinestro, basically. But there you go. That's kind of what I had for the Brocat block this week. Scott, I want to thank you again for being on in this episode where we did discuss a lot of Kingdom of Hearts and Jurassic Park, all kinds of fun stuff, streaming services. Go ahead and let them know where they can find you, and let them know about Lazy Gaming Guys, and of course a little bit more about the Ronin console.
Yeah, so you can find me on @Lazy Gaming Guys on Twitter. There's links to our YouTube channel, and I believe the Discord as well on there. So we stream video games every Wednesday night between 10 and 11 p.m. Eastern, depends on the night. But every Wednesday night we will be streaming, and it's just different kinds of games. You can come hang out, have fun. It's very casual. You can also check me out on the Ronin Council podcast, which you can find that through the Exiles Network on Twitter. And Millennial Mike has links to all of that fun stuff on there, both the Exiles Council or the Exiles Network Discord, and then the portion of the Exiles Network where Ronin Council is on there. And I believe Ronin Council also has its own Twitter called the Ronin Council. So you can check us out there as well, which should also have the links. And that's just a fun anime podcast. We talk about anime, manga, and all things Japan. A lot of fun. The next episode will be our two-parter of the end of the season for last season, and then we're going to be going into our beginning of season stuff and what we're watching this season, what we think of the season as a whole, and things of that nature, which will be a lot of fun. And yeah, any other video or anime and manga news that's coming out, which there's been a few things that we'll be discussing in this one, so that'll be a fun listen to.
Awesome. I appreciate it, Scott. There will be links to everywhere you can find Scott and his YouTube and podcast on the description of today's show notes. So in case you're driving and you can't get to your phone, you can come on back to the description of today's episode and you can find all of those links on there. I also tag them when I put up the episode previews on our social media accounts. And thank you as well on the other side for tuning in for episode number 504 as we explored this sector. If you want to help us out, leave us a review on whatever podcatcher you're using right now, Apple Podcasts, and specifically a lot of people I know look at reviews on there. So if you're listening to us on an iDevice, or if you have access to the Apple Podcasts app, take a few minutes and just leave us a review on there. It would help us out a lot. And I know Stitcher also has like a 5-star rating system. So whatever it is that you use, if it has a rating system, that would be awesome if you can do that for us this week. You can also find us at thereasonsimbroke.com. That will have a link on all of our social media accounts. Thank you once again for joining us this week. I've been Daniel, joined by Scott and Brocat Core. All will be well. So, Scott, if they were to incorporate anime worlds into Kingdom of Hearts, which anime world would you want to visit in the game?
Yeah, that's a weird one.
Is it hentai? Just say it's hentai.
So I'm trying to think of like one that I would actually really want to see fit into a like Kingdom Hearts style. Because I know obviously one of them would probably like the popular answer would be Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, or Attack on Titan, or something along those lines, where it's a huge fan base.
I thought you were going to say Demon Slayer.
Demon Slayer would be kind of cool, but I mean that's another one that would be like a super popular one. I don't know. I'd probably have to go with something like Naruto or One Piece.
Oh, One Piece would be good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would just be kind of a cool, fun one. And like with a One Piece one, you could even kind of make it like Pirates of the Caribbean, where you have the ship again and you can travel around, like they did in Kingdom Hearts 3, which was a really cool portion of that world. So yeah, that would probably be the answer. I guess One Piece would probably narrow it down.
One Piece. I would want to do Cowboy Bebop only because I want to explore the ship. Like just as Sora go through different... I don't know if we've had anything yet, and you'd probably know the answer, of like a VR or something where you can actually see how the layout of the ship is from the anime. Like I think that'd be a neat way to kind of explore it.
That would be really cool. Yeah, no, there has not been something like that to my knowledge. Because I think there's only 2 games for Cowboy Bebop, even in Japan, and neither one of them have anything like that.
I know they did a VR experience for Batman the Animated Series with the Batcave, where you can actually explore a 3D version of the Batcave, and development costs would be so shitty. Like there's no reason for them to ever do that, because how many Cowboy Bebop fans would actually buy that?
I know East did the same.
Who did?
Explore the ship. Yeah, there's like a whole VR experience. It has like a few different mini games and stuff. It's free on, or no, this wasn't free on PSN.
Which ship was it?
Like $5 or $6. I believe it's the Marigo, the first ship.
For which game? I'm sorry, which anime?
One Piece.
Oh, One Piece. Okay, I gotcha.
It's I think $5-10 somewhere on PSN, and yeah, it's just a VR experience. You can play some mini games and explore the ship.
And also half the gamers would, if they did put Cowboy Bebop, would be like, what the hell is this? They wouldn't even recognize Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah. It'd be pretty cool though. Like I love when anything gets like official, here's the layout. in Cowboy Bebop, I don't even think got that in a text form of like, yeah, here's where everything is.
Yeah, like an art book or something.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Just even in an art book to be like, yeah, here's the ship layout where everything is, so you kind of visualize it better.
The schematics, a nice hardcover with all the artwork, schematics of the ship. Man, that'd be awesome. That'd be good. There's an
Yeah,
idea.
that'd be a nice like you could easily charge 40, $50 for that, and I'm sure it would sell.
I'll send it over to Inside Editions because they're the ones who do a lot of these crazy big art books and all of that. And maybe they'll take it on. I don't know. Maybe if the if the Netflix show had been a success, maybe I'd have a little more pull. Like, look, maybe they'll buy this.